Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. Want to thank our sponsors, Triple X, On the Hill but on the Level, is Purdue tradition since 1929. John Basham and the good folks at Basham Reynolds. John will be wearing out his voice in the gold seats in Mackey Arena, I'm certain, on Sunday night. Hilton Garden Inn, when tomorrow's a big day, State HGI tonight. Christy Kuntz and the folks down there do a great job in all projects. Not just great place to stay, but a great place for meetings as well. State Farm agent Trent Johnson at TrentIsMyAgent.com. I don't know what to say about Trent, but usually Trent's a good guy and has been about as big a Purdue fan over the years as you're going to find. And speaking of which, Purdue, Wisconsin on Sunday night. I'm having a hard time bonding with that 7:30 time. I don't know why. But it's going to be a very tough basketball game. The Badgers are absolutely on fire.
They are. They are playing much better than they were the last time Purdue met them. Obviously, Purdue, you can say Purdue caught them at the right time, right after the coaching transition. That was a team that wasn't playing up to typical Wisconsin standards. Purdue got them there. Since then, Wisconsin's more or less transformed into a much better team. They're on a real hot streak here, playing much better. I think they just established some normalcy after their whole world basically was turned upside down. Greg Gard changed their offense back to what it was before they had, the supreme talent they've had the last couple of years, and I think just with experience and normalcy, Wisconsin's become a typical Wisconsin team. So this is going to be a very difficult game for Purdue.
One question we get asked a lot, Brian, is this whole matchup question. What is a good matchup for Purdue? Obviously, Nebraska was a good matchup for Purdue. They couldn't stop Purdue's inside game. Not a very strong team defensively. Is Wisconsin? What category do you put them in? Because they don't have absolute dominating inside play, but they do have good guys in the perimeter and seem to have some interchangeable parts. So how do you view the Badgers?
The first game, this was a great matchup for Purdue because Ethan Happ was a young, overwhelmed freshman against Purdue 7-footers, and Vito Brown was just a typical plodding 1980s power forward. Now, when you watch Wisconsin play, Ethan Happ has really made a difference for them. He's really come on, a real high-effort guy, really good rebounder, leads the Big Ten in steals as a center. Vito Brown is making a lot of jump shots. And when the four-man can make jump shots, that's a difficult matchup for Purdue. So before, great matchup. Now, much less great because of some of the things that have evolved for Wisconsin over the course of the last few months.
And of course, Senior Day, and this is a special time, any time, especially when you have two, and Johnny Hill certainly is in there as well, but two guys that really came about their careers very differently, and A.J. Hammonds and Rayfeld Davis both have meant a lot to the resurgence of this basketball program. But they were also at a very down time. I mean, we remember Ray Davis saying on our show a couple times, basically having to get over the embarrassment of being a part of a program that finished last. It's hard to put that legacy maybe in succinctly, but what these guys have meant a tremendous amount to this basketball program, those two especially.
And they have been two entirely different people.
Right.
Rayfeld Davis elevated Purdue's program with his passion, with his pride, with his leadership. A.J. Hammonds elevated Purdue's program just by becoming a brilliant player. I think he's one of the top 15, 20 best players in college basketball.
Yeah,
I was going to say top 10, but that would get me universally mocked in the court of public opinion, and I don't like to get mocked. But he has become an outstanding player, and he's come a long way to be an outstanding player because when you watched him play as a freshman, the roughness around the edges just hit you in the face like a baseball bat. And things were, I think, even worse than maybe it was anticipated in terms of how far he had to go to get to where he is today. It's been a really interesting story to see how far he's come as a player and a person alike. Rayfeld Davis has obviously been a good player for Purdue, but he's been a great leader. And I wrote yesterday that I'm not sure Purdue's turnaround last year would have been entirely possible without Rayfeld Davis's leadership, because Purdue was in last place the year before, and everybody left, and they had two guys coming back, Rayfeld Davis, A.J. Hammonds, and obviously some sophomores coming back too. But I'm talking about the most prominent personalities here. The 2014 class was brilliant from a leadership and a maturity perspective. But those guys fit into the template that Rayfeld Davis really established in that locker room. And John Octaves to a lesser extent, but much more Rayfeld Davis because his longevity in the program. So you cannot say enough about what Rafael Davis has meant to this program. It's been unfortunate that he's going out kind of being cannibalized by the fan base because of scoring, whatever else, but he's just absolutely meant the world to this program.
And that is absolutely the definition of nutty talk, anyway. I mean, in my view. I mean, I understand everybody has shortcomings as players, and you want them to be a certain way. But he has meant, I would agree wholeheartedly, it has meant a lot. You know, the interesting you say about Hammonds and being a top 10, and I know it's a little bit on the discussion of Yogi Ferrell. I actually heard somebody talk about Yogi Ferrell as not only Big Ten Player of the Year, but National Player of the Year, and we get some over-exaggerations from time to time, but Hammonds has at times really been that guy where he has been an upper echelon. Okay, it's top 15, whatever that number is, but he has been very, very unique, and maybe to some extent the fact that he doesn't play 32 minutes a game, he plays 24 or whatever that number is, lessens his impact from a statistical standpoint. But he has been very, very good and really pretty consistent throughout the course of this season.
He's been incredible. I mean, in context, he has been incredible. If Purdue beats Illinois, if Purdue beats Michigan, A.J. Hammonds is in that Player of the Year conversation. There's no doubt in my mind. His minutes are limited. A lot of that has to do with Isaac Haas. So his numbers aren't as good, but his impact at both ends of the floor is pretty profound. I don't think anybody's beating Denzel Valentine. I mean, the guy leads the best team in the country right now in scoring and assists, and averages enough rebounds to lead a lot of teams in the Big Ten in rebounding. He has just been Mr. Everything for the best team in the conference. And the best team in the conference and the champion of the conference are two very different things nowadays.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's beating Denzel Valentine, but if Purdue has 2 more wins, I think a strong case could be made for A.J. Hammonds to be right there in that conversation.
And not to diminish Yogi Ferrell, because he's been outstanding as well. And Indiana is going to has an outright championship. To its credit, something that doesn't happen all that often in relative terms. So the Hoosiers will be that #1 seed coming into the Big Ten tournament next week.
Yogi Ferrell's number 2. I didn't mention him just because there's
a
lot of guys I could have mentioned.
It's just it's debate. It's a debate,
right.
Obviously, in Central Indiana.
I didn't want to make it look like I was picking the Purdue guy over the IU guy. I'm just saying that Yogi Ferrell's number 2.
Been great.
A.J. Hammonds is in the conversation, if that hypothetical had unfolded.
Absolutely, from that standpoint. Dakota Mathias has been an interesting. Certainly, the game against Maryland got everybody's attention, but I thought it was important that he followed that up again at Nebraska with another strong effort. Maybe not to the level of Maryland, but obviously, but he's doing some good things. Is that shooting light coming on, or are all the votes not cast yet on that? I mean, it will be good tested defensively by Wisconsin on Sunday night, but this team seems to be getting its legs, or maybe it's shooting legs, so to speak, at the right time.
It's getting its legs and it's getting its senses.
Yeah.
More than anything, because when you watch Purdue lately, they're more aggressive offensively, but they're also smarter, and that's kind of a fine line to walk, because aggressiveness and good sense often kind of belie one another. But Purdue has been really aggressive offensively. Vince Edwards makes Purdue better when he's aggressive. Dakota Mathias makes Purdue better when he's aggressive. And I think the last 10 minutes of the Indiana game was maybe that kind of watershed moment where Purdue realizes that, hey, when our guys are aggressive, we are a better offensive basketball team. And you saw that against Maryland, and you saw that against Nebraska. And you will, if Purdue has its way, you will see that against Wisconsin and in the postseason. Dakota Mathias and Purdue in general, is shooting very well. They're shooting well over 45%, I think, over the last 7 or 8 games, whatever it may be, ever since 3 of 25 at Maryland. They're taking better shots, they're being more decisive in their shooting, and they're making more of them. Dakota Mathias has been very good, but Dakota Mathias' success is directly linked to the fact that he's not vomiting every day, which he was for a while there. People were like, oh, why isn't Mathias playing more, including me? But he was sick, and the illness, that's been the story of Mathias' career. The thing that's held him back has just been health.
Yeah.
So now he's finally healthy, and you're seeing him play well. This might have happened 8 games ago if he didn't get sick. Now you just hope for his sake that a piano doesn't fall on his head, because that's been kind of the story of his career. Every time he's passed everything, something else happens. But Purdue is playing very well offensively right now. They're playing smart, they're playing aggressive, and smart and aggressive is a pretty damn good combination for a team that's got to turn the ball over less, got to take good shots.
Yeah, mono, and then he has, what do you have, the flu and piano falling on his head. I think I still don't want the piano on my head.
That would be the worst of all. I think we can all agree.
I think that is absolutely true. You look at what Purdue has to gain. How much stock do you take or put into this whole notion of double bye and seeding in Big Ten tournament, and ultimately, what does Purdue need to get out of Sunday and however long the Boilermakers go into the Big Ten tournament? Is it simple? I mean, it seems to me that they're kind of locked into that 4-5 situation. Their upside there maybe is not a whole lot. I guess if they win the Big Ten tournament, that could change.
Well, the double bye is important because it's one less landmine you can't step on your way to, presumably a chance to win the Big Ten tournament. That's obviously the ultimate goal here. But anytime you have to play one less basketball game. That's one less dose of wear and tear. That's one less opportunity for somebody to sprain their ankle going into the NCAA tournament. One less opportunity to throw a stinker out there and go into the NCAA tournament without momentum. So obviously, the fewer games you have to play, the better. I don't know if Purdue's going to get that double bye or not. Some things have to happen to help them get that. Obviously, they have to beat Wisconsin, but I think you obviously absolutely want that. This isn't a deal where you have to pad your win total to get into the NCAA tournament either. So that one more win really doesn't make all that big a difference. So if you can get the double bye, great.
Yeah, and that happens if Purdue wins, obviously, and either Iowa or Maryland lose. Then Purdue will have that double bye. I'm a little still. I think if Iowa, they can still be a 3 seed, as high as a 3 seed. If the Boilermakers lose, I think they can drop as low as an 8. But that's
Big Ten this year is such a debacle.
It's hard to know. A lot of people talking about, well, it'd be nice to be in that 4 or 5 situation because you might have a chance at Indiana, but that will be interesting. You're going to have a challenge even if you're the 4 seed and running in possibly into Maryland as the 5 seed. Also, that will be a challenging quarterfinal game on what would be Friday afternoon if Purdue is the 4 or 5 seed. So, Brian, we appreciate your time as always, and we will look forward to reading what you have to say and more on goldenblack.com. It'll be interesting to see how this next few weeks play out.
Always is.
Always is. All right, we're going to take a couple-minute break. We'll bring Kyle Charters and Tom Dienhart on for our final segment on Golden Black Live, and we appreciate you hanging with us, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes after these fine words from our sponsors.